Hello, Bobcats. Welcome back to another great week, another great quarter at the Helena Middle School. I hope everybody's coming off a fantastic spring break. Hope everybody got to sleep in a little bit if that's your thing, got to relax, got to get rejuvenated for a big finish here, which is going to be the fourth quarter. I cannot believe it is already fourth quarter. Speaking of fourth quarter, I've said this, I think, 3 or 4 other times. Let's get off to a great start with our schoolwork. Let's make sure we're getting all our schoolwork in. So many of you get in such a deep hole, and then it's really tough to get yourselves out, and you have all that extra stress and all that extra pressure at the end of the quarter. This is the second part of second semester, so if things didn't go so hot third quarter, this is a chance to get back. We are in the middle of the March Madness read-off. We're going to have some results this week in your advisors. If you were on the shorter end of minutes in your advisor, it's okay. It's not too late. You'll go to the second chance bracket. If you were a winner, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading for the next couple weeks, and we should be reading always. I got a lot of reading in on my spring break. I told you that was one of my goals, was to become a better reader and to get reading more. So I'm not just telling you guys what to do. I actually practice what I preach on all this stuff. So without further ado, welcome back to another great week at the Helena Middle School. Welcome back to fourth quarter. Let's make it our best quarter yet. Make a great week, Bobcats. All right, we are on to B.O.B Lesson number 26, and B.O.B Lesson number 26, we're going to continue talking about success. We broke into that a little bit a couple weeks ago before spring break with the success iceberg and awesome video. Thanks for all the great feedback on that, by the way. So today's lesson is going to be habits of successful people. But before we begin here, let's be our best at HMS. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful, and let's be a learner. All right, so some of you may have seen this on social media. I saw this earlier in the year, and I saved it, and I've been waiting to use it. And it basically talks about habits of successful people, characteristics of successful people, habits and characteristics of unsuccessful people, and how the difference in a mindset and the difference of habits and the difference of some of the things we do can make such a huge difference when it comes to success in our life. So the next week or two, I'm going to be talking about some of these things and breaking them down a little bit more and exploring them on a little deeper level. I hope you guys like this. All right, first characteristic that successful people do, they read every single day, read on their own. And one of the big competitions for reading every day is screen time. And when I was growing up and your teachers were growing up, it was the only screen time we had really was television or video games. And now we have television, video games, iPads, tablets, phones, and so much of that it can become really addicting. And so much of that is rotting our brains, whether you believe it or not. Some of the benefits to reading every day is it exposes you to proper grammar and literacy skills. If we're reading out of a book, or we're reading literature, we're reading professional publications, and we read that, we start to learn how proper grammar works. Where if we're reading some social media, or we're reading things that other people put out there, a lot of times they'll shorten words, they'll use abbreviations, because it's quicker and easier, and then we start picking up on those literacy skills, and then we apply those in school, and we can't make that we can't keep that connection separate. Reading every day increases your vocabulary. The best way to increase your vocabulary is to read and learn new words. Reading every day increases your overall knowledge and information about the world, about things, about people, about places. I was talking to one of our secretaries last week, and we were talking about how I really like to read nonfiction. I like to increase my knowledge base by reading nonfiction. And whether we're reading nonfiction or reading fiction, it's all good as long as we're reading. And it also has increased, studies have shown that there's increased chances of scoring high on standardized tests like the ACT for college admittance one day, because going back to the first thing, it's exposing us to the proper grammar. Unsuccessful people, they're more into screen time. And screen time can lead to obesity because we're not out moving around, and we tend to do that for long stretches at a time instead of getting exercise. Screen time at night stimulates the mind and causes a lack of sleep or tiredness. So screen time gets our mind going, and then our mind has a hard time to shut off, and so we're laying in bed and we can't get to sleep, and then our alarm clock goes off in the morning and we are tired and we're not ready to rock and roll at school the next day. Screen time creates isolation from others through impersonal communication. Back when I was growing up, you either talk to somebody on the phone or you talk to them in person. Now we can text, now we can tweet, now we can Instagram message them. Kick. I mean, there's so many apps out there, I can't even keep up on them. And it also, like I talked about earlier, exposes to improper grammar and poor reading. This is why I've been trying to do more reading myself. I practice what I preach with this stuff, so I hope you guys do too. All right, characteristic number 2. Successful people compliment others. When you compliment others, it creates positive energy and a positive environment or a positive aura around you. And people want to be around positive people. Complimenting others, you're perceived as being a more likable person. You're a half glass full type person, and that's the kind of people that people want to be around. Complimenting others leads to being perceived as being a more trustworthy person. And complimenting others show high levels of confidence and self-worth. I talked about this a little earlier in B.O.B Lessons. People that are confident and people that know they have high levels of self-worth, they're not trying to tear other people down. They're trying to build other people up. Unsuccessful people criticize one another. This creates a negative energy and a negative environment that nobody wants to be around. People don't like being around negativity. The world is already hard enough. It ruins relationships. When all you ever hear is negative, negative, negative in a relationship, it ruins that relationship from the inside out, and makes it hard to have any sort of relationship with that person, whether that's a platonic or a romantic relationship or a family relationship or whatever it may be. Criticizing others leads to the perception that you are a negative person. When all you do is criticize, 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 people start to see you as being a negative Nelly, and people don't want to be around negative Nellies. Other people feel devalued. When you just criticize and criticize and always point out what people are doing wrong, you start to feel devalued after once in a while. And not only that, but your self-esteem starts to slip as well. All right, characteristic number 3. Successful people embrace change. And this one's really hard, folks, because human nature that we like reliability, we like predictability, we like structure. And that's one thing that many of us thrive on, is that reliability and that structure and that predictability. And this goes directly against that, because life is always about change. Nothing stays the same ever in life. Things are always evolving. Things are always changing. And change, people that embrace change know that change is necessary for personal growth. We can't grow. We can't get better as people, as human beings, if we don't have change. And so embracing change for personal growth is what successful people do. Change leads to a more holistic and well-rounded life. If there were no change, we would live our life the same way every single day, and that word holistic means all around whole. To live all around and whole and grow to be a well-rounded person, you have to embrace change. And the fact is, change is inevitable. Embracing change means going with the grain. And this is sometimes hard for us human beings. We want to fight change, and life goes so much better if we can embrace and go with the grain, or go with the current and stream. Think about going in a river. People don't float up a river with a paddle, because you wouldn't get anywhere. People float down the river and go with the current. And improving is difficult without change. We can't grow, we can't improve, we can't evolve unless we embrace change and welcome it with open arms. Unsuccessful people fear change, and maybe I shouldn't say unsuccessful here, because I did say that it's kind of human nature that we fear change, or that we don't like change. We like that structure and reliability, but fearing the inevitable means you're not being open to new opportunities and new experiences. New opportunities, new experiences are a good thing. Stagnation, when something stays the same, that leads to a fixed mindset. And part of growing as a human being means we have an open mindset, and we don't get our minds fixed on one set of thoughts or beliefs. We're constantly questioning, constantly thinking about things. That's what growing, that's what education, that's what learning is all about. Fearing change means to failure to evolve and grow, right? We talked about the importance of evolving and growing as human beings, and fearing change means being stuck in the past. We got to be future-oriented, present and future-oriented people. If we fear change, we're going to be stuck in the past, and that's not necessarily a healthy thing either. The last characteristic for this week is successful people forgive others. Look around the room. Look at yourself. Look at your neighbor. I talked about this, the man in the glass, a couple B.O.B lessons ago. We are all fallible human beings. We are all imperfect human beings. We are going to make mistakes, okay? And successful people forgive others when they make these mistakes. Forgiving others scientifically leads to better overall health. I was doing some research on this, sleeping and mental health and your anxiety levels being lower. There's a ton of scientific benefits to forgiving others. It leads to stronger relationships because people don't think they have to be perfect around you. Though they know they can be fallible, they know they can mess up, and you're still going to be there to forgive them and to move on. Some of that scientific evidence said that forgiving others lowers your stress, and I don't know anybody that likes living with stress. Forgiving others frees you and others from guilt that you or they may have, which accompanies making mistakes. And it develops higher levels of empathy. I've hit on that word quite a bit on a handful of B.O.B lessons this year, and if you'll recall, empathy is the ability to really feel what somebody else is feeling, and to forgive them means to build that empathy. Unsuccessful people hold a grudge, and this is something that I take things pretty personal, and this is one of my weaknesses as a human being, is sometimes I tend to hold a grudge too much, but you become a hostage of somebody else's actions. If somebody does something wrong and you hold a grudge, that is like holding you hostage every single day instead of freeing you through forgiveness. There's a lot of negative health consequences come with holding a grudge: higher levels of stress, harder time sleeping at night, so on and so forth. You're not going to have the quality of relationships that you are if you're not a forgiving person, because people don't feel like they can be themselves and be somebody that makes mistakes around you. You're going to lack empathy, and we've talked at length through B.O.B lessons how important empathy is, and it creates a vengeance mindset where you're out to get revenge, and getting revenge and getting even, an eye for an eye. That's just not a good thing, and that's not a thing that a characteristic of what successful people do. And it also, finally, it doesn't allow negative energy to dissipate, and that word dissipate's kind of a big word, but dissipate means to slowly just kind of go away and dissolve. So, quote of the week comes from none other than myself, and my quote of the week is: life isn't about becoming a finished product, because you never become a finished product in life. Life is about growing and evolving and slowly becoming a little bit better version of yourself. And I know that's what I try to do. I hope that's what you guys try to do. It's just work on becoming a little better version of yourself on a daily basis. JellyBean question of the week winners. Congratulations, Eli Bo. And this is funny, folks. We talk about your guys' generation, the millennial generation, and I can't remember who out of these four. I know Eli was the one that got it right, and the answer was your Echo. But I rewarded Peter Compton, Anya Baumeister, and Evan Beck Garcia because their answers were like Siri and I think your voice, and I accepted those two. But it's really funny, speaking of your guys' generation and technology, I just thought that was so funny, like you guys would put Siri on there, and because it is true, so I included you guys. This week's JellyBean question of the week winner, or question of the week, is: when you have me, you feel like sharing me. But if you do share me, you don't have me. What am I? And I'll give you guys a hint, because I've been noticing these have been getting kind of hard for you guys. If you have me and you keep me, there's a very good chance that you are a very good friend. And if you share me, maybe you're not as a trustworthy of friend as you could be. Hint, hint. All right, motto for fourth quarter: let's finish. The weather's going to start getting nice. We are not done learning yet. Beginning of 9 weeks. We've got 45 days left of school. Let's make the most of them. Let's finish. Let's finish every period. Let's finish every day. Let's finish every week. And let's finish the school year strong.